All right, welcome back to the channel. So Jermall Charlo trainer Ronnie Sheilds says that Jermall Charlo is going to move up to 168 pounds to go chase Canelo Alvarez, a fight that should have happened at 160, and that Jermall Charlo is big trouble for Canelo Alvarez, and at the same time, Canelo Alvarez is a lot of trouble for Jermall Charlo. Let's talk about what Jermall Charlo's trainer has to say about that fight and Canelo Alvarez's willingness to have it in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. We are at the beginning of a new year, 2021, and hopefully what we will get this year is a lot of very good fights that we want to see. And what you will hear on this channel is a consistent daily push to get those fights, because I have been a fan of boxing for my entire life, as long as I can remember, and I'm 51 years old. From about the age of 5 years old to now, I have been into the sport of boxing. And let me assure you that there is a lot of nonsense going on, and a lot of people that are used to the nonsense, that profit from the nonsense and have no intention whatsoever in having the nonsense go away. Now, who do I believe that is? I believe that's the boxing media. I believe that worse than the promoters, worse than the fighters that don't want to fight, are the media people who are PR agents posing as fans, trying to convince us that fights that we need to see, that we don't need to see, but fights that we really want to see really aren't that important, really aren't that big a deal, because there's some other star, often Uzbekistan, that is really the big fight. It's not the guy that you've been watching in the amateurs. It's not the guy from Houston, Texas that we've been seeing fighting over the years. It's some guy you ain't never heard of from, wherever they get him. Because that's the fight that is going to make the most money for the promoter. Not because the fight is huge, but because the fighter doesn't ask for very much money, and then the main event fighter, the big fighter, can take all the money, and the promoter can take all the money. Or he represents both sides of the fence in the fight, right? Both sides of the fence in the fight. That means both fighters, and it doesn't matter who wins because he's going to get paid and promote the next fight anyway. It is the usual sham that we've been watching go over and over, and I've been watching happen over and over and over and over again. It's kind of like when people say, Fanon, do you ever take a vacation? I noticed that you are doing videos on Christmas. You're doing live streams on Christmas. Fanon, do you ever take a vacation? You are doing live streams on New Year's Day. You're doing videos on New Year's Day. Do you ever take a vacation? And my answer is yes, I have taken a lot of vacations, a lot of them. I've had 51 years worth of Christmases, 51 New Years, and every other holiday. At a certain point in time, you get used to the routine. It's not a big deal anymore. Christmas is not Santa Claus coming down the ceiling, right? But in boxing, we are stuck forever in this fairy tale that these media guys keep pushing. Like this one, Canelo Alvarez is undefeated, and the fight we really want to see is Yaldemir. We want to see Yaldemir and Gennady Golovkin. No, we do not. We have been wanting to see Canelo Alvarez fight Jermall Charlo for a very long time, and you keep finding ways to tell us that that's not really a fight that needs to take place. But you're all happy and can't wait for Callum Smith. I don't believe it anymore. I didn't believe it then. I definitely don't believe it now. What you are is in the pocket of those promoters who are telling you what fights they want to make and asking you to help them sell it to people, instead of doing the opposite, which is looking at the fans, looking at what the fans want, and then selling what the fans want to the promoters so the promoters can make it happen. But that's not what's going on, right? So Jermall Charlo has been chasing Canelo Alvarez for years. 154, 160, and now he's going to go to 168 for his third trip up, hoping to get a fight with Canelo Alvarez that the mainstream media will tell you is completely unimportant because Jermall Charlo has not done anything. What has he done? Who has he fought? Oh, we don't really like that. It's not a big seller. Those are all lies. Those are all lies. Because Jermall Charlo was a champion at 154 in the same division Canelo was. He was a champion in 160. He was a champion in this, not only in the same weight division, in the same sanctioning body. But the WBC decides, hey, we don't need mandatories for Canelo. We don't need mandatories for Canelo. And when you point this out, what do you get? You get attacked by the media for pointing out that, hold on, man, Canelo and Charlo have been in the same weight class since 154. When exactly is he going to fight this guy? Before he hadn't fought anyone. Well, he's fought people now. He's a 2-division champion. If he goes to 168, he's going to be a 3-division champion. And all of these 3 divisions are chasing Canelo. When are you going to hold Canelo Alvarez responsible to fighting people in there that are in the same weight class as him? You see, you know what I mean? And then, now I don't mind this, but Canelo says, hey, he'll be willing to go, at least Eddie Reynoso says, Canelo will be willing to move down to 160 for Errol Spence, but he's not willing to fight Jermall at 160. You know why that is? Because Jermall is a much harder, tougher fight than Errol Spence Jr. is for Canelo from the outside looking in. Now, I'm a believer that styles make fights and that I don't really know what Errol Spence Jr. is going to be at 160. He might get ridiculously strong. You don't know because that's what other fighters have done, right? Manny Pacquiao moved up and got stronger, didn't he? No problems whatsoever. Canelo moved all the way up from 154 to 175 and got stronger and more muscly the whole way up. So maybe Errol just pops into the ring weighing 160 pounds and you're like, God dog, where'd you get all those muscles from? Where'd you get another 20 pounds? Where'd you get 15 pounds of muscle and you ain't losing no? That could happen. You never know, right? You never know because those type of miracles happen in the sport of boxing. So and it's never steroids, right? It's never steroids. It's not anything to do with steroids. Why people can continue to move up in weight and get nothing but muscle and no body fat and the WBC dips the computer all of that type of stuff. We don't know if Errol Spence Jr. is going to get some of those magnificent modern medical miracles that allow him to do what Canelo Alvarez does. But let me just cut to the chase. If Errol Spence decided to get on steroids, the proper type of steroids, Errol could easily get up to 160 pounds and fight very strong, big, very strong guy, right? Because that's the modern medicine of, that's the modern miracles that are going on in boxing. Where guys like Tyson Fury can lose like 200 pounds in 6 months and then put the weight back on in muscle in another 6 months. But nobody blinks an eye at that, right? Whatever, man. Look, this year we going in and that's just going to be what it is because there's no other way to do it. It's been 50, like I said, my entire life is sitting here watching this stuff. Okay, and it's not going to change by being nice to people and just saying, well, if I'm polite and I just say, maybe these guys are great and I really just love every fight that they make. No, I don't. I don't love every fight that you make on DAZN. I don't love every fight that you make on Showtime. I don't. And I don't think I should have to. I think saying that I need to love every fight would be holding Showtime and DAZN and all these guys to a higher standard. But, dude, when there are obvious fights that need to be made, it's not too much to ask for the media not to pretend like the fights need to be made and like there's something wrong with me. I literally heard the editor of the Ring magazine ridiculing me because I say that Danny Garcia should be considered for the Hall of Fame. This is an American talking about an American champion, one of the best 140-pounders of this century. If you take 140 pounds seriously like that. But they still will not give that dude the credit that he deserves. But yet, oh man, wait till it's time to get Gennady Golovkin up in that Hall of Fame, right? He lost to Canelo. He ain't beat anybody of any significance other than Danny Garcia. Danny Jacobs. That's it for Gennady Golovkin. That's it. You look at his resume and say, whoa, who's the big win on Gennady Golovkin's resume? It's Daniel Jacobs. That's it. The rest of it is the idea of how hard he hits and how scared everybody is and how much people were ducking him, right? And that was true at the time, but it's not anymore. But yet, and you look at his career, you look at Danny's, yeah, Danny has more losses. Danny has also fought better people than Gennady has, right? But Gennady's going into the Hall of Fame. All I'm saying is that Danny should be considered for it, and the American media rejects it, and acts like I'm the problem. No, man, it's going to be tough on boxing until we recognize that the media is the problem. There's no way that there should be any question that Canelo Alvarez should be fighting Jermall Charlo. It's so obvious. He's obviously in the man's way in his career, and that's a fight that obviously should be made. But yet they act like it's not obvious, in fact, they act like you're crazy for wanting to see it happen. I think that they're just kind of in a scheme, and they're okay with earning the money that they're earning and having the fights being planned and going and breaking news like they've always been doing. But if that continues to go on, we're going to be talking about 2 years from now whether or not Jermall Charlo is going to be moving up to heavyweight to follow Canelo Alvarez now that he is 5'6" and 280 pounds. That's my take on the situation, and feel free to have yours. And with that, I'm out. Peace.